This latest episode of the History Graveyard YouTube channel, I'll be taking visitors on a guided tour of a city in France I was unfamiliar with, Grillon, in the Savoie region. Why? I want to portray a woman from the 17th century who I'm guessing that most of this video's viewers will have never heard of prior to watching it, Marie de Rabutin Chantal, better known as Madame de Seveigne. And let me just warn listeners now that my French pronunciations are likely to be brutal in this video. My days as president of my high school French club are very much in the past. Je parle un peu de français il y a longtemps. The year I'm posting this video, 2026, is the 400th anniversary of the birth of Madame de Seveigne, and the residents of Grillon, France certainly know about one of the most fascinating women of 17th century Europe, as this beautiful town is honoring her 400th birthday with plaques across their city honoring some of her achievements. Grillon is a small village of about 2,000 residents in the south of France, complete with a 1,000-year-old castle. It's not close to Paris, that's a little less than 400 miles to the north. Instead, to get to Grillon, you're going to be about 100 miles from Lyon, and maybe slightly under 100 miles from Geneva, Switzerland. I was there earlier this summer for a beautiful family wedding, and the region and village are known for dairy farming, vineyards, fruit trees, as well as picturesque lavender fields. There are two dominant architectural wonders in Grillon, a castle which dates to at least the 12th century and possibly earlier, and the 16th century Saint-Sauveur collegial church. Both impressive structures connect to the woman being profiled in this video, Madame de Seveigne. Before I provide a little more biographical information on that amazing woman, let me take you on a quick tour of the collegial church and its tomb marker. Hear the wedding bells just finishing. There was a wedding ceremony here just before I arrived at the church. So, flower petals. The bells have stopped ringing, but you can still hear the motion of the bells. They're still moving up there in the sun. The bells have stopped ringing after the wedding. This is overlooking Grillon, countryside, the view they have from the church. There appears to be some kind of sports field down there. And this is an old countryside, Madame Seveigne. Basically lived in this castle 400 years ago. Today is actually, we're celebrating the 400th birthday. The castle is just above the church, the cathedral here, which was spared during the French Revolution. Much of the rest of the town of Grillon was actually, unfortunately, ransacked and destroyed, but they left this cathedral untouched. We'll go back inside here in a minute. You can barely see, right above the cathedral is the castle, the chateau. The family lived there. There was a connection, which I'll go back in and show here in a second, from the cathedral to the chateau. Walking back into the church. This is the actual cathedral. Right above there was the room that apparently connected the castle, the chateau, to the cathedral. Again, the cathedral spared in the French Revolution. better understand the life of Madame de Seveigne, it's helpful to return to France in the early 17th century. The King of France in the year of her birth, 1626, was Louis XIII, with the teenage ruler relying greatly on advisor Cardinal Richelieu to govern his kingdom. Louis XIII would die at the relatively young age of 33 in 1643. A year later, the 17-year-old and now orphaned Marie de Rabutin Chantal would wed a French nobleman, Henri de Seveigne. Typical of nobility at this time, with their numerous landholdings, Henri and his family owned a great deal of land and estates throughout France, and among his many titles was the Marquis de Seveigne. In 1644, the year of that marriage, which now gave Marie de Rabutin Chantal the title of the Marquise of Seveigne, Louis XIV became the ruler of France. Known as the Sun King, he was in the first year of a remarkable 72-year reign as French leader, the longest run of any monarch in world history. This was a time when France would greatly expand its colonial empire. Much of the credit for the shaping of Madame de Seveigne's contributions to epistolary greatness can be attributed to her upbringing. After her parents' and grandparents' deaths, Marie de Rabutin Chantal would become the ward of her uncle, Christophe de Courgelange, the Abbey of Livres, and he would surprisingly provide his niece with the finest education available, allowing her to study literature, philosophy, Latin, Spanish, and Italian with the finest tutors in France. In a time period in which perhaps only 15% of all women had any access to any type of formal education, Marie was the exception. Her marriage, however, was not very exceptional. It lasted just 7 years until the Marquis de Seveigne would be killed in a duel over a mistress, leaving Madame de Seveigne in financial distress and as a widow with 2 young children. She would never remarry and remained a devoted mother to both her son and daughter as they became adults, but especially with her daughter, Françoise Marguerite, a young lady who would later become the belle of French society and a featured performer in ballets written by King Louis XIV, which were performed at the Palace of Versailles in the mid-1660s. The children's book, Madame de Seveigne and Her Children at the Court of Versailles, by Le Bibliophile Jacques, was published in 1882 to much popularity and relates a fictional narrative of the staging of one of those ballets. Near the end of 1668, Françoise Marguerite married François Adelamar, the Count of Grillon, and the couple eventually spent much of their time in various French estates, including the Grillon Castle, where Madame de Seveigne would occasionally visit over the next few decades. What makes this time period both remarkable and notable are the letters that mother and daughter faithfully exchanged during the ensuing decades, tremendous records of French life during the 17th century that are still studied by modern historians. Madame de Seveigne wrote thousands of lengthy letters over decades of correspondence, primarily to her daughter, and more than 1,350 of these letters have been preserved for study centuries later. She wrote about nature, marriage, gossip of Parisian life, sorrow, religion, family, and so many other topics. You can view records of these letters online or in a Penguin Classics collection of some of the letters. I'll leave a link to some of the websites in the comments area of this video. You can also learn more about Madame de Seveigne in the 2023 French film Madame de Seveigne, which, in complete honesty, I've never seen. There have been other film adaptations of her story, and her letters also inspired the Marcel Proust story In Search of Lost Time, as well as being a model for the character Maria in Thornton Wilder's novel The Bridge of St. Louis Rey. I wish I had more time to dig deeper into the remarkable woman who was born 400 years ago, but one can get a sense of the variety and literary skills of Madame de Seveigne from these excerpts. Fashion is such an embarrassing thing that you have to dress like everyone else, and yet fashionable people change every day. Nothing is lacking in our happiness, except duration. You ask me if I am devout? Alas, no, which is a sorrow to me, but I am in a way detached from what is called the world. You know, the true way toward a devout life lies in some of the degrees of effacement. First of all of that which our heart holds dearest. If you're ever in the southern regions of France and want to visit a charming French town to pay your respects to an icon of French history, the cathedral and castle in Grion should certainly be added to your travel itinerary. Please remember to subscribe to History Graveyard for more biographical videos on important figures as this site continues to visit cemeteries and profile individuals who deserve to be recognized. Thanks for watching.